Ayun, kunin mo yung table. Arlene, are you here?
Hi, Ray. Can you
Oh,
test
yeah.
your ano na?
Screen?
Yeah, yeah. You can share
Sige.
it.
Share ko yung screen.
Okay. So again, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. I hope you are all safe and well together with your loved ones. Thank you again for joining us in this session. As many cities are now enforcing lockdowns and community quarantine to avert the spread of COVID-19, organizations are pushed to implement work from home arrangements. There are a lot of companies concerned that remote work will be detrimental to the organization as productivity will plummet and the quality of results will suffer from lack of proper supervision. In this webinar, you will discover strategies on how to ensure employee productivity during these times, as well as ways to reskill and upskill your teams through the use of L&D. We hope you learn how to design and structure your remote L&D initiatives for effective learning experiences that will make your employees perform better. So I'm proud to that joining us in this webinar today is Hungry Workhorse. They're one of our global partners in digital transformation. Their mission is to help organizations create substantial business value with digital technology and innovation that delivers breakthrough performance, business performance improvements, and initiates digital transformation. Today, we are joined by its Chief Executive Officer, Ray Dugtu, and their Chief Operating Officer, Kay Calpo Luktu. So this webinar will cover, so our first presenter will be Ray, who will be talking about the challenges L&D professionals are facing right now and how to design and structure effective remote L&D initiatives. Later on, I will talk a little bit about how our learning platform, Matrix LMS, can be used uh, to better engage remote learners and teams. Finally, we will have a Q&A session. So please post your questions and comments in the chat room and we will answer them. This session will also be recorded and we will be sharing it later. And then also we will be muting everyone, at least during the presentations. So to start, let me introduce Ray. Ray is a digital transformation thought and action leader, a sought-after public speaker and trainer, and an accomplished educator and business columnist. He is the president of Hungry Workhorse, digital culture and culture transformation consultancy firm, and co-founder and counselor of Cocos, a data privacy and business advisory firm. He is engaged with several companies and organizations in digital transformation and innovation, helping them in strategy and execution. He is also chairman, independent director, co-founder, and advisor of several startup and tech companies. He previously held senior executive roles in Microsoft, Samsung, Globe Telecom, Emerson, and IBM. He is the chairman of the ICT Committee of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines, or FINEX, vice chairman of the ICT Committee of the Management Association of the Philippines, MEP, chairman of the SME Development of Foundation of Filipino Entrepreneurs, board of trustee of the Foundation of Outstanding Mapuans, board advisor of the Global Chamber Manila, and executive board advisor of FEU Innovation Center. So he's also a professional lecturer in the MBA program of De La Salle University, where he has been teaching for 15 years, and was an adjunct faculty of the Asian Institute of Management, where he taught digital transformation. And on the side, as a hobby, I think, he is a business columnist and writer for Manila Times, Manila Bulletin, and Business World. So without further ado, let me introduce, we're grateful to have here with us today, Sir Ray Lugtu.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Arlene, for that generous introduction. So let me share with you my slides now. So I will talk about maximizing the effectiveness of e-learning for work from home employees. Okay. Now, when the government implemented community quarantine, many schools and organizations immediately jumped into implementing e-learning, and many have also experienced bottlenecks and failures. There's several factors, why many organizations, including schools, experience failures in executing e-learning approaches. So I will go through our experience in helping some organizations in Philippines go through these changes and effectively implement e-learning for work from home employees. But to start, now let me give you some context on what's happening in our environment. So yes, we are now under work from home, and I think the new normal will be work from home. No? Many organizations have experienced productivity increases apart from the long-term impact of the coronavirus. So this new way of working will persist for the years to come. But on the other hand, internet speeds are hard to sustain, no? Because global organizations globally are getting into the internet at the same time, no? Hence creating bottlenecks in the internet. So it's hard to sustain a whole day or even several hours of live webinars. No? Organizations are not mature in e-learning. We saw this in Philippines. In Philippine market, not too many organizations are mature when it comes to adopting e-learning as a culture. It requires certain kind of readiness and maturity. So we saw that many organizations in Philippines are not ready to implement e-learning. Now, also, people are stressed. Employees are stressed. No? So it's not easy to implement e-learning amongst employees, because employees are stressed. They think a lot of the issues what's in the environment. So there's a need for empathy. No? So empathy can be exercised by understanding employees' needs. And then lastly, because people are stressed, they want to connect with others, especially with their friends and colleagues. So when we implement e-learning, we still need to integrate collaboration in the approach. Now, this gives us impetus to create new instructional design for this new context in the environment. So the objectives of this new instructional design is to deliver training online to participants while they are working from home. So we need to upskill, reskill, and even train new skills to our employees. We need to ensure effective delivery through a mix of pre-work and live online lectures. We need to evaluate the effectiveness of the training using online assessments. We still need to do the same online assessment. We need to develop virtual collaboration among participants through joint problem solving. As I mentioned, employees still need to connect to their friends and colleagues in this time of crisis. And then lastly, we need to develop maturity among participants in using e-learning as a mode of delivering training, because again, this is going to be the new normal in the years to come. Now, let me go through the key design principles. So when we design this, in the context of what's happening in the environment, these are the key design principles. So the first is that lessons are spread over a period of 1 to 2 weeks. Now, why 1 to 2 weeks? We think, and based on our experience, 1 to 2 weeks is enough to spread, a full lesson. If normally you will deliver, a one whole day face-to-face lesson, that content and including the workshop and collaboration needs to be spread, within 1 to 2 weeks in order to make sure that content is delivered effectively. Second is that lessons that are conceptual are delivered pure online. So there's content in your training which is conceptual in nature. We can deliver this pure online while giving quizzes and assessments, while those that require hands-on skills building are delivered live online. Third, groups need to be pre-grouped before the online class in order to place them in an LMS or any collaboration tool for that matter. No? So grouping is important again because people still need to be connected to their colleagues, and this will develop collaboration virtually, no? Which is needed in the years to come. So we need to create subgroups for ease of collaboration in any platform that you will use. And then use a video conference tool for live lectures and interaction. So, uh, it's ideal to use only one platform that combines video and text or messaging. So this is to ensure seamless experience amongst the participants, and we combine interaction, group work, and lectures in one platform. So the whole lesson plan is interspersed with quizzes, polls, questions, and group activities. Now, following the design principles in face-to-face training, we need to make sure that the lessons are short, and every lesson should be reinforced with icebreakers like quizzes, polls, and questions. And then at the end of the lesson modules, an online assessment will be answered by the participants to evaluate the concept and understanding. So think of this as an exam. Now let's go through the instructional design for e-learning. So the framework we will show you is not cast in stone. This is just a guide. Again, it depends on the maturity of the employees. It depends on the content that you want to deliver. So the first part is the first module is online pre-workshop and preparation. So this entails grouping, getting to understand the platform, and some self-assessment as a precondition to entering the course. This will provide us some insights on how much they know about the topic, so that we can adjust the succeeding modules. The second module is the self-paced online readings and workshops. These are usually the conceptual lessons. We can deliver this through self-paced. The e-learning content can be text, or there can be a recorded voice, or it can be a recorded video. So as long as learners can do this on their own pace, but still within the 1 to 2 weeks time frame that we mentioned. Now, the third module, this is now the live virtual workshop. So this is where the content that requires hands-on participation is delivered. So for example, like group work is still important in Philippine context, where employees and participants need to collaborate. It builds collaboration online. So it serves multiple objectives. And then lastly, the last module, which is the online assessment and potentially e-mentoring. So e-mentoring I included here because after the assessment, depending again on the content, there may be a need to mentor certain employees that require some attention, especially when you plan to build some soft skills. So e-mentoring is a necessary step. This can be delivered using the same collaboration tool platform or some video conferencing tool that you have. So this is the simple instructional design for e-learning. Again, this serves as a high-level guide. It is not cast in stone, and it depends on the maturity of the learners and the type of content you will deliver. So the results, no, in a few of our clients, no, the results of applying this framework, we get positive feedback from participants, no, in terms of it's similar to the face-to-face training that we conduct. There's high ratings on participant assessments, and lastly, the virtual environment creates a positive feeling, no, among participants, especially in this time of lockdown and quarantine. It gives them a sense of connecting with their colleagues. So that's the big takeaway in applying this framework. Now, how we can help? No? So we at Hungry Workhorse, no, so we've been helping several companies, no, as mentioned by Arlene, in their digital transformation journey. So what we can do, what we've been doing is we assess the e-learning readiness. No? So we evaluate the e-learning readiness. No? This is conducted using a simple set of questionnaires we deliver online that measures the readiness of the organization. And we use this to evaluate the kind of structure and design that we can develop for the organization. The second is we understand the training content. Is it soft or hard skills? No? Hard skills can be delivered pure online, especially when it's technical skills, but soft skills require hands-on, require human interaction, require human collaboration. So we need to adapt the uh, the e-learning approach to soft skills content. Then we can curate and develop content for the organization. We have developed a number of content, many of them soft skills, some hard skills, and we can also co-develop with the organization certain contents if you want to make your content SCORM compliant. Then we do the instructional design. From all of these inputs, we design the e-learning journey. We do some stress test on the infrastructure and the content itself. So, it's part of the design. And then lastly, we deliver the e-learning. No? So, we schedule the e-learning delivery with the organization, taking into account the 1 to 2 weeks of delivery. So, in a nutshell, no, that's our experience. No, it's not it's not like implementing e-learning immediately because of the quarantine. There needs to be some evaluation, assessment, and some framework that we can follow so that the e-learning delivery and design is effective. Because in the end, no, you want your employees to learn new skills, no, and also develop and maintain the collaboration amongst uh, their colleagues. So that's the end of my content. And then there's a sixth, the sixth step is assessment and evaluation. So after delivering the content, we help in the assessment, creating the assessment and evaluation of the e-learning modules. So that's the my presentation. If you notice, we also compress this because this is the nature of e-learning. No? It has to be short content, but with some breaks in between. No? All right. So thank you, and I think Arlene will moderate the Q&A.
Yes. So, or maybe we can do the Q&A later
Yes.
after.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah. So Arlene, I pass this to you.
thank you. Okay. So, okay. So to connect to um, what Ray was saying, I think a big challenge for us always has been engaging our learners given the remote environment that we are in, right? So there's a lot of constraint in terms of communicating with our employees. But from our perspective, especially in L&D, it's more of how do we engage our learners given the current dynamics that we have. So we look at it from two perspectives, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is our motivation outside of the person, right, to perform an activity either through a reward or avoiding punishment. And then internal motivation is doing something because for their own sake and for their personal reward. So from our perspective, when we design for engagement, we look at it uh, cultivating intrinsic motivation. We have features that are capable. No? Our Matrix LMS platform ensures that we are able to encourage autonomy and then achieve mastery and purpose. And then we have features that also cater to our extrinsic motivational strategies for our employees in terms of providing compensation, punishment, and reward. So one of the, let's start with extrinsic motivators for learning. So of course, it's compensation, punishment, and reward. So some of us, we have provide more time. Like right now, a lot of our people, we're thinking what they are doing right now. So a lot of our customers right now, even people inquiring, how can we use this immediately? How can we use the platform to train our people and also monitor them, right? So in exchange for things that we should be doing at the moment, we are now trading it with training time. So a lot of our the people we're talking to are doing this as training or even retraining or looking at it as a way to review current strategies and policies. So that's one. Uh, well, it's also a way for us to now start catching up with mandatory trainings that we have required. So I know that often training and engagement activities for L&D sometimes take a backseat with more pressing KPIs like production, sales, output, right? But now it's a good time for them to allow them to catch up with mandatory training, not necessarily punishment, but letting them comply with requirements that we have. And then of course reward. What you're looking at in that is our mobile app, which is also part of the package of Matrix LMS. We can gamify learning activities where people can be awarded badges, certificates, and points when they go through uh, learning activities, whether they access a module or score in an assessment, and be able to see how they are performing compared to their peers. So it's also, it has that social component. And then yeah, sorry. So the other one is intrinsic motivation. Of course, a lot of us are looking at our future given the current times right now. So a lot of us are thinking, how do we better prepare ourselves? What skills do I have that will make me competitive, right, in the new normal? So people are thinking about that. And when we look at purpose mastering autonomy, so it helps drive discipline at the center of it. It motivates dedication, purpose, and autonomy, helps culture desire. But at the center of that is we find employees, according to Daniel Pink, they find their drive at a combination, at the intersection of purpose, mastery, and autonomy. So when we look at intrinsic motivators for learning in our learning platform, we have features like learning paths that allow learners to have a sense of purpose in the L&D activities that they are doing. We can personalize learning so they have a sense of autonomy, meaning the activities that they have don't feel like assembly line. So they can move faster or slower depending on how well they perform in the training or learning activities. And then you have mastery, which allows them to track their competencies, how well they are actually doing, not just in the learning activities, but maybe even in performance-based assessment, so that it provides them with more feedback about their job performance. So in Matrix LMS, we have something that we call learning goals. So we're looking at artificial intelligence right now to better enhance the power of our learning management system. And in this sense, we will be able to, learners or employees will be able to set their learning goals, right? And then through AI, of course, you have or have them set by mentors or suggested by the platform itself, and they will be able to see what goals, the path they need to take to achieve a goal. Okay, so and then you have mastery. So when you talk about mastery, all the learning activities that are found in the platform can be associated into competencies. So you can map all your competencies based on job titles and then across positions, right? So they will know like what competencies do I need to go to have career mobility, like upwards mobility, right? So this one allows them to tangibly map their progress based not just on learning but also on performance. So some of the intrinsic motivators that we have based on our AI for personalized learning, they can watch a video based on recommendation from our AI engine. They can take a course, uh, join a forum, join a group, or ask a mentor to provide them with more feedback. So these are some of the recommendations that will appear once they start using the platform based on the learning goals that they present. And then in terms of autonomy, you have personalized learning. They have different kinds of assessments that they can take, right? Aside from the pop quizzes that are available, if they take an activity or a training outside by a training provider, the third-party certificate can be recognized. Their education, their university education can also be part of uh, assessments or points that be recognized for their job goal or personal goal. And the system somehow aggregates all your competencies and be able to see how you're progressing. So what's important here is um, what Ray has mentioned is we're looking at it from an instructional design perspective, but also marrying the user experience to have something that we call learner experience design. So within our platform, we have this is the screenshot of our Matrix LMS. Can be viewed in any kind of internet-enabled device. So it has a clean, intuitive experience. You have access to information anytime, anywhere. And then, as we mentioned, you have learning paths. There are the importance of collaboration. As Ray mentioned earlier, we have groups, forums, wikis, and blogs. You can integrate your favorite web conferencing tool, be it Zoom or MS Teams or GoToMeeting, WebEx, and then have all of that be part of learning activities. One of the favorite feature also is gamification. So learners can uh, see the leaderboard, earn badges and points for learning activities that they participate in. And then there are different types of assessments. Even later in the future when we can return to our offices, you can even cover training activities done in on-site to reflect the complete learning experience in a blended manner. So it's possible for us to marry on-site activities with online learning activities. And what I like about it also is we are able to combine all um, resources and be able to reuse them for future purposes, right? Uh, and then you're also able to create customized certificates, and that can appear in the personal profile of the learner and be downloadable as a PDF file. You also have instant analytics available to see how learners are accessing modules. And then, as I mentioned earlier about learning paths or competency based, you can see how well a course is designed or how well learners are progressing in the target competencies and be able to react in real time whether somebody needs to get intervention for their performance or move to on a quicker pace. So that's the power of the analytics that we have. So to summarize, most of the engagement boosters that we have in our learning platform for learning, both for intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So digital, you have gamification. You can use your analytics, so learners and instructors, managers can use analytics to get real-time data about learner performance. And then automation reduces a lot of the repetitive tasks that people often do in training, like printing certificates or enrolling people into training. And then collaboration. So collaboration can be done synchronously, like what we're doing right now with a web conference, or maybe asynchronously, like in the case of discussion forums where you give them 2 weeks to discuss deeply a concept, maybe like what Ray mentioned earlier, empathy, and how empathy can apply in the workplace. Being given time that we have right now will allow for deep learning opportunities where we have a chance to reflect more on the scenario that we have in the workplace and be able to prepare better when we return to our workplaces. A big thing that we've learned recently is cultural, right? So in terms of marrying digital engagement with what is being done inside the workplace, we have to also reflect our corporate language in our learning platforms. Like in some of our cases, they've renamed their LMS into academies or universities, and then reflecting the color scheme or even the usage of the terminologies that are being used specific to a company. So when we do that for our learning platforms or even any tool that we have, it reflects it somehow feels like something when we introduce a technology, it doesn't feel foreign to them, right? And then of course putting this as part of rituals that we have, so you can have like a learning Monday, meditation Tuesday, or something that like that. So it shows, it gives a message that learning, even online learning, is part of the culture of the organization. So that's it for me. We can what's good about what we have right now, for those, I know we have a lot of our customers and clients here, but for those who want to experience Matrix LMS, we can provide you with a 30-day free trial as a way to support all of the companies right now who are trying to find ways to engage with their employees in a remote manner. So we have currently a number of companies on pilot mode using LMS. So please email us. I'll post my email later so you can contact us and we can help you with the trial. We can assist you with
Yeah, hello again.
yeah. So in a classic example of technology challenges, so I was cut. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we can help you with the trial, and we can move now to Q&A. So everyone who has questions, I'll post my email in our chat room so you can reach out to us and we can help you with trials. How do we generate the questions in assessing? Ray, this might be for you. How do we generate the questions in assessing the e-learning readiness? Oh, you're muted.
So we're using
There.
a tool. So we developed a tool. The tool is based on some international assessment. We administer this to an organization. It's
So Ray,
yeah,
can you specify?
yeah. It's based on some. I can't remember the body, no. But I can share. No, I can share some more. No, if you provide your email. No?
Any other questions? I think we finished quite early, but we can provide you with demo Matrix LMS accounts that you can use for your company. It will not be mixed with anyone else. Also, Ray, they're asking if you can share a template for the e-learning readiness survey. So please send us your email. So do we have something for SMEs to cope up with the current situation in terms of learning, right? So, Ray, you're muted again.
Let me share my slide, Arlene.
Yes.
This is my next webinar at 4 p.m. today.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, so how can SMEs cope? I defined the new segments. Let me share, Arlene. No,
Sure, sure.
wait here. No? So I have identified new market segments, no? Because the need of people now, no, is the need of coping. No? So this is the need. No? So and this need will last until the coming years. No? There's a need to cope with what's happening, no? Until there's a virus, and even after the vaccine is produced and delivered, no, there will still be a need for coping. So coping is a need that we need to address amongst consumers and amongst employees. No? So in the context of your organization, your employees will have different types of strategies to cope. Right, so we divided the segments of employees or consumers, if you will call them, into different segments. So the first segment is problem solvers. No? So the behaviors we see here is that this group is all about planning and follow up. They actively look for solution. And examples of products that they buy are everyday necessities like food, supplies, no? And they use marketplaces like Facebook Marketplace and other online marketplaces. Now, the next group, no, and you will see this amongst your colleagues and the employees, are the emotional expressionists. This is a group of people who let their emotions out in social media. No, they rant a lot. No, they complain a lot. So they need to speak to other people, and they need to look for appeasing, for activities that to appease their emotions. So examples of products here are motivational coaches, no, hobby supplies, no, virtual dance parties. This is now common. No? The third group is the group of understanding seekers. No? This group tries to understand the world, no, the situation, and looks for learning. And examples of products and services here are online courses, e-learning, webinars, like this, and virtual coachings. The next group are the help and support seekers. No? This group seeks for help and support from others, for example, advice. No? And the service here usually are the virtual coaches. And the last group is the problem avoiders. No? They look for activities to forget problems. They act as if nothing has happened. No? So examples of products here are entertainment content. No? That's why Netflix is popular now. You have marketplaces online. You have hobby supplies. No? And you have liquor, junk food, and comfort food for delivery. So these are the different segments, and you will see this amongst your employees and amongst consumers in general. No? And the behaviors are also different. No? So when it comes to employees, no, the more open to learning are the understanding seekers. No? So they want to learn, no? They want to understand the world. No? And also those emotional expressionists and problem avoiders, no, they want to engage in online learning so that it can appease their emotions, or they can those are modes of forgetting the problems they face. So these are the different segments or groups of individuals that we see in this type of scenario that we have now. Uh,
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. So they have another webinar later, this 4, right, Sir Ray?
yes, no, so it's
Yeah.
starting 4 o'clock. No?
Yeah. So we can take a quick. Do you have a link that you can share with the in the chat room, please, so that people can save it?
Wait. Uh, so can you hear, Arlene?
Yes, sir. Yes, Bob.
Yes, no, we can share the link to
Yeah, I think
the
Martin has shared it
webinar.
already. So if
Yeah,
you can copy the link to the webinar, which happens 4 p.m. today. So we have a little bit more time to have coffee and merienda before we see each other again later. But thank you for sharing a bit of it here, Sir Ray.
okay.
So we're also open to any comments in the chat room, anything, any reaction to what you have seen, what we have presented. So we have a question here: is understanding that the situation as a behavior for understanding seeker segment too simplified?
What do you mean?
It's in the chat room. Is
Wait.
understanding the situation as a behavior for understanding seekers segment too simplified?
Well, yes, no, it is simplified, no. The framework I gave, no, is a guide, no. Again, it's not
Yeah.
cast in stone, no. Think of this as a continuum, no. So there's no
Yes.
simplification of behavior, by the way,
Yeah.
no.
Yes.
Behavior is complex, no. But what I'm giving and offering is a framework, no, for you to assess, no, and make judgment for yourself, no.
Yeah. And it's possible, Sir Ray, for somebody to move into these different segments in terms of because it's behavioristic, right?
Yes, no.
So,
So in fact, if I can share it again, uh,
yeah, we can still see it.
you
The
can
new
still
market
see.
segments. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so uh, so this is a framework, no. So again, no, people will move from one emotional state to another, no. From shock to anger to bargaining to depression and finally accepting. So different people will express and have emotional states, no? And we see this everywhere, no. So like the bargaining part, no. That's why we saw long lines of reopened
Mm.
Starbucks in QC, no? People try to be normal, no? We also see a lot of people being depressed, no? Based on news that we get, no?
Mm.
So different emotions will happen, no? Again, depending on the maturity of the person and the situation of the person, no? So again, no, the framework I gave is a guide, no? It's never cast in
Mm.
stone, no? It's a
Yes.
guide for a person to evaluate, no? All right.
Yes.
All right.
I think that's particularly challenging with OD, LND, HR, because we're also looking out for the mental well-being of people, our people. So somehow this is something that we also need to navigate in these particular times. So,
Yes, I answered that, no?
mm,
All right.
yes, yes. Any comments? But thank you for your questions. So Martin has already shared the link to the other webinar, and then I shared my email. So anyone who, especially our customers here who are here, if you want to have a discussion with us of how we can also look at some engagement activities that we can do for your employees, please send me an email. For those who want to try out Matrix LMS on a pilot basis while we are under quarantine, you can also email us. We'll be happy to help create a demo account for you and walk you through the entire process. So you have to just focus on what messaging or what learning content you want to use for your learners during this challenging time. Okay, so they are asking about the topic of the seminar. So the seminar for 4 p.m. is actually one that's hosted by Hungry Workhorse themselves. So Hungry Workers is our global partner for digital transformation. So we have this topic here, but they also have one on community commerce.
Yes, so the topic is community commerce. So for those interested, how to make money during this time, no, because there will be uh, there will be employment problems. No? It will come. No? So if you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, no, or if you want your business to have a boost in sales, no, during this time, no, this is the webinar that we will deliver.
Okay. So I think we're right about on time to end. If we have any, no, do we have any more questions? I hope you learned something in our webinar today. We'll be coming out with a few more in the coming weeks. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you to Hungry Workhorse, Ray, Kay, and Martin. Thank you to everyone, all 53 of you who joined us today. We hope you guys stay safe and well, and we hope to see you on the other side of this quarantine. Thank you, everyone. So we'll
Thank
be
you,
sending you
everyone.
a recording of this meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.